right, my friends, so here's the tea we made in class this morning. I wanted to just show you where I harvested some of these plants in this tiny little tea garden or herbal garden, which, has a few other friends. That's a cucumber. These are nasturtiums. This is shungiku, which is a Japanese chrysanthemum that you can actually cook the greens up with some sesame oil and soy sauce. So there's a few other sorts of plants that I wouldn't necessarily put into teas, but I refer to this as my herbal tea garden. So we'll talk about some of the plants that we put in here, and then I'll show you how to prepare it as an iced tea. And I'll try to be brief. We talked about some of these things in class already. So this is this is lemon verbena. And it's a really famous herb for being the lemoniest of all the lemon-flavored plants. So people love to use it in cooking, right? So these lemony sort of leaves can be tossed into a salad or a sauce. They can infuse ice cream or a cocktail, right, in sort of dessert purposes. They're also used in soaps and perfumes. So it's a super versatile plant, and people just love this sort of minty, citrusy aroma that it has. And for that same reason, it's just lovely in a tea blend, right? It's a really sort of cheerful addition to your tea. Then we have calendula, which is a kind of marigold, right? But it's a special one. It's a really beloved flower by herbalists. So in the herbalist tradition, this is a flower that's known for promoting tissue healing, right? So it promotes skin regeneration if you have wounded or especially burned skin or any sort of inflamed condition. So it's often used to make salves and topical medicines. But by that same token, if you take it internally, it can still promote healing. It acts as an anti-inflammatory and an antimicrobial, and can help repair tissue that might be damaged in your digestive tract, right? Your internal skin that might have ulcers or other sort of inflammatory conditions. So that is from an herbalist tradition and perspective. These are not cures or treatments that I'm promoting in any sort of FDA-approved sensibility. But I love putting calendula in my tea. It has an earthy flavor. It's packed with antioxidants. And I have had some inflammatory skin issues here and there, and I do take it with this intention of helping those to calm down. So this is just a go-to for me. It's also very beautiful in the tea. It sort of blooms when you add the hot water. And it's important that your tea is beautiful, right? Let's see. All right, so then we have Tulsi, right? And I chopped off a bunch of the flowers this morning for our tea. Here's one. My Tulsi did not grow super big this year, but it is super fragrant. It's one of the most fragrant plants I've ever grown. So it's also known as holy basil, right? This is a basil family or mint family. And to just rub the leaves, I can smell it all the way from here. It's a super beautiful aroma. It's a little reminiscent of basil, but really smells like honey to me. It's very sweet. And Tulsi is the kind of medicine that herbalists call an adaptogen. So some of us think about taking an herbal tea to calm down, right? But in the sense that it puts us to sleep or it sort of sedates us out of our stress. But herbs like Tulsi that are adaptogens actually help us to manage our stress. So it's not about just conking out and going to sleep. It's about being able to manage your stress in a way that actually gives you more energy. So you could sip on some Tulsi tea throughout the day, and it will just sort of promote all of your body's functioning, right, and the balance of all of your systems in a way that just helps you cope. So it's just a really lovely support, as well as just the flavor and aroma itself of Tulsi, I find super calming. So that's a super quick fire micro lesson on adaptogens. This is a little mini herbalism class, right? And another herb that we often use to calm down is part of another sort of classification of medicine called nervines, right? So this tiny little flower is chamomile, and I'm sure all of us have had chamomile tea at some point in our lives, right? I was always given chamomile tea if I was upset as a child, right? So if I was having a tantrum, I couldn't get out of my feelings for some reason, right? If I was crying, I would get a cup of chamomile tea and I would almost always feel better. So nervines promote your nervous system. It's exactly what it sounds like. So they can help your body feel better through easing muscle tension. They just help your whole system sort of normalize itself and calm down, right? And chamomile definitely has a calming effect, and it's really good for an upset stomach, right, as well. But it's sort of related, right? Sometimes we get upset stomachs when we're stressed out or when we're upset, and we have digestive problems because we're upset. And in that case, chamomile is a perfect herb to take. Right? So all together so far with our lemon, our calendula, our chamomile, and our Tulsi, we have a calming, supportive, and kind of cheerful tea that's coming together, right? So it's good to spend some time with all the plants in your garden. Again, I picked all of this for our tea, so there's only a couple flowers left on this chamomile. It has a friend chamomile over here, right? And this isn't in our tea, but this amazing plant is called borage with this amazing blue flowers. And its leaves are also edible and its flowers are edible. They're beautiful decorations on desserts. Or sometimes I freeze them in ice cubes to make really beautiful ice cubes for drinks, right? And then the last thing I put into our tea was from a mint plant over in another garden. And mint is good for digestion, but mostly I just wanted a little bit of a minty flavor. So then what we did was we used just the leaves and the flowers of those herbs, right? The stems are usually hollow. They don't have a lot of the flavor in them or the medicine in them. So we just used the leaves and the flowers. I crushed them up a little bit to release some of their oils. And then we poured some simmering water on top, right? So once we had packed our herbs in, we just poured the boiling water on top, or like simmering a little bit under a boil. And you leave it sitting for 15 minutes to an hour. Right? So with fresh herbs, you definitely want to give your tea some time to steep. And we talked in class about always put a lid on while it's steeping, right? Because a lot of the medicine and the flavor is contained in what are called volatile oils that can actually escape with the steam. So by just popping a lid on, you keep all of those volatile oils in your tea. So my tea's cooled down a lot. It's still warmer than the air. And I actually want to drink this as an iced tea. Oh, and I forgot to mention that when we poured the hot water in, we also mixed a little bit of honey in to make it a little bit sweeter and to give it all the good properties of honey. So because we steeped our herbs in here loose, right? We didn't put them in any kind of tea bag or any kind of strainer. We'll have to strain it when we pour it into our cup. So here I just filled a cup with some ice. This tea has been steeping for about half an hour. It's good to go. Maybe because some herbs went to the bottom and some are at the top, I'll give it a little shake, right? Uh-oh. Couldn't quite open that with one hand. All right, and then I'll just pour it through my strainer and fill up my cup. And it's a really beautiful color, isn't it? Just a super light yellow. I'll just leave my strainer there for the next pour. I could pop those herbs back in. So this will keep for about a day, maybe a little longer. You might want to strain out all the herbs and save it in your refrigerator without all the herbs in it. It's not really meant to last, right? This is a fresh tea. It's good to just drink it right when you make it. Wow. It's really delicious. The mint and the lemon flavors are strong. The Tulsi flavor is strong. It's slightly sweet from that little bit of honey. And I have enough that I could keep diluting it and drink it all day long. So the reason we had class about this, right, about infusing an herbal tea, it was part of our garden sharing series, right? So we've been checking in with our gardens all year and talking about what we do with the harvest. And I just wanted to share a harvest that's non-traditional, right? So we've been sharing a lot of cucumbers and tomatoes and summer squash, which is awesome. Those are such lovely things to have in your garden and to be able to enjoy. But it's just as important to grow beautiful flowers and pick bouquets and to grow beautiful herbs and enjoy those as well. So I hope that was helpful and that you feel ready to go make your own fresh tea. It doesn't have to have these herbs in it at all, right? There's so many lovely flowers and herbs that make different sorts of teas, different flavors, different medicinal properties. So it's a really good opportunity to just experiment. Other herbs I love, let's see, are lemon balm, peppermint, rose, lavender, right? Some more floral sorts of flavors. What else? If I want a really more hot or peppery tea, I might put in some bee balm. So yeah, there's a lot of options, and I encourage you to play around with them if this is at all interesting to you. All right. I can't wait to see what you guys make.